This is All India Radio. In the program Samvaad now, we bring you a press conference by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, followed by positive stories on COVID-19.
I'd like to start by quoting some words of Prime Minister's speech that day, because what I'm planning to say today is very much pegged to that aspect of his speech. And I quote, "As a nation today, we stand at a very crucial juncture. Such a big disaster is a signal for India. It has brought a message and an opportunity," unquote. He also used the expression crisis and an opportunity. That again leads to me to refer to his expression that we need now to build an Atmanirbhar Bharat. So, laying the foundation for what I want to say today, a little again quote from the Prime Minister, quote, "In order to prove the resolve of a self-reliant India, land, labour, liquidity and law all have been emphasized in this package." So, a message from the pandemic, the challenges that it throws, the crisis and the challenge, and also looking at a self-reliant Bharat, an India which is going to be strong enough to meet the global challenges. Online education has been taken up in a big way. Schools are now using a lot of technology, but Swayam Prabha, which is a direct telecast mode that they have, direct to home channels have been used. 3 channels are already earmarked for school education. Now, another 12 channels are to be added to this. I am sure in schools in the rural areas also, this will be of great help, where schools can bring in technology to children, because irrespective of rural or urban, children love technology and they adapt very quickly to it. So the education, HRD, the Human Resource Department, has made the best of this time to provide curriculum through technologically active media. So provision has been made for telecast of live interactive sessions so that teachers and students can watch what is going on, and these channels bring in experts from home through Skype. Also, they have tied up with private DTH operators like Tata Sky and Airtel to air educational video content. And this, of course, enhances the learning interest of children. So the states of India are coordinating to share airtime. 4 hours is given every day. States of India are also using it, and Swayam Prabha channels therefore will be telecasting education-related contents. 200 new textbooks are being added to e-Pathshala. Budget estimate for Manrega, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, was 61,000 crores. A lot of workers are going back to their villages, and we've made provision so that they can also join in if they want to enroll in Manrega. Government will now allocate an additional 40,000 crores. This way, we'll ensure that during the monsoon season, and since many of them have gone back to their villages, and if they enroll, they will get the jobs. So 40,000 crore of rupees is additionally given over and above the BE. Now go to the second, which is ramping up the health infrastructure. After all, as I said, if there was this crisis, if there was this challenge, we also should see the opportunity and be ready to face any future emergency situation that may arise. Health reforms and initiatives have been put in place. Public expenditure on health will be certainly increased. Investments at the grassroots level will be ramped up for health and wellness centers, both in the rural and urban areas. Remember that we had been talking about wellness centers so that they can be in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, and particularly giving focus in aspirational districts. We also spoke about the viability gap funding for the social infrastructure only yesterday. So we will be ramping up all the wellness centers and health infrastructure. All districts will have an infectious diseases block in their hospitals. Then lab. In Delhi we have a lot of path labs moving around and which facilitates people's lives. Lab networks in rural areas are not adequate. So public health labs will be set up at all block levels. I recall Prime Minister did say this pandemic is a challenge. This or any pandemic If at all it poses a challenge, we need to be ready, Atma-nirbhar, in hospitals, at the block and at the district levels. So there is a lot of emphasis being now given for setting up hospitals and also diagnostic labs and testing labs, both with private and public funded opportunities. Along with health, PM eVidya program for multimode access to digital online education will be launched immediately, and this will consist of Diksha, which gives a one nation, one digital platform facility, and this is for school education. From class 1 to 12, one earmarked TV channel per class, one channel will also be part of this. Then there will be extensive use of radio, community radio and podcasts. So technology in a big way into education. Extensive use will be made of radio also. Special e-content for visually and hearing impaired children. This is going to be one of the very big step forward, and I personally feel very touched by the HRD's attempt to ensure that Divyang children also get equal access to good quality education. And the top 100 universities will be permitted and will be automatically allowed to start online courses by 30th May 2020. Then of course, one very important thing, Mano Darpan. I think this is a great initiative considering that during this lockdown period also, many students required psychological support because lockdown was new to them. There was this fear, don't go anywhere, don't touch anybody. Children were definitely stressed because of this, and an initiative for psychological support of students, teachers and families, the larger thing being for mental health and emotional well-being, is being launched immediately. Many businesses have got severely affected, particularly during this lockdown and also the COVID pandemic. Debts related to COVID shall be excluded from default under the IBC. This is a change which we are going to make, that any debt which is incurred or indebted situation that comes up for companies because of coronavirus, they shall not be included in the category of default. Then no fresh insolvency procedures or proceedings will be initiated up to 1 year. At the moment, I think the MCA has extended it to 6 months. We intend extending it even by another 6 months because after all, when the lockdown gets lifted immediately, you're not sure how much of business will get restored. So, no fresh insolvency proceedings will be initiated up to 1 year. For MSMEs, which is again an important step, a special insolvency framework will be notified under Section 240A of the IBC. One other thing which will benefit the MSMEs is the minimum threshold to initiate insolvency proceedings is now raised to 1 crore from 1 lakh, which will therefore insulate the MSMEs. This is a major step forward, and in all probability we'll be going through an ordinance to achieve this goal immediately. Of course, we'll go back to the Parliament once the Parliament commences to have it passed as an act. The next is related matter, but related specifically to the Companies Acts and the related defaults. Technical or procedural defaults was one thing which people were afraid of if we hadn't extended the compliance date. So now what we are trying to do is decriminalize most of the sections in Companies Act where you have violations which are technical and procedural in nature. So we want to decriminalize all of them. Then compoundable offences where there are, they can now be tried under internal adjudicating mechanism, and this way, one, it becomes simpler, it can be sorted out at the internal adjudicating mechanism route rather than go to the courts. This will help us decongest the courts. The declogging is absolutely important for the criminal courts and for the NCLT. So amendments will now enable us to achieve all this. An ordinance again will have to be brought in for this. 7 compoundable offences altogether will be dropped and 5 will be dealt with under alternative framework. There was a thing introduced in the Parliament, but then we didn't even have the time to take it up. But this has 1 or 2 other additional features with which we will now come up with an ordinance so that immediately it can benefit companies. The next one relates to a major step in that we would like to announce a public sector enterprise policy. An Atmanirbhar Bharat needs a coherent policy. All sectors will be open to private sectors also. Public sector enterprises will continue to play an important role in defined areas. We need a coherent policy because sometimes you opened up some sectors in piecemeal. This sector is open but not that. That sector has always been with public sector, it shall be with public sector. It's never available for others. So, we are coming up with a coherent policy wherein private sector will be allowed to participate in every sector available, but of course public sector will continue and they will continue to play a very critical role. When I say public sector, I mean public sector enterprises will continue to play a very important role, and we shall now define the areas in which their presence will be impactfully felt. So the Government of India will announce a new policy which will broadly categorize strategic sectors and the others. And the strategic sectors in which the PSE, public sector enterprises, will be present will be notified. In those notified sectors where public sector enterprises will be present, at least one public sector enterprise will be present. In those sectors which get notified as where you'll find the public sector enterprises, at least one public sector enterprise will be present, whilst private will also be allowed to play their role in it. However, in those sectors which get notified as strategic sectors in which public sector enterprises will be present, only 1, 2, 3 or 4 public sector enterprises will be present. In the sense, not more than 4 public sector enterprises will be there in that strategic sector notified for the presence of public sector enterprises. So if a sector is notified, and in that if there are 10 public sector enterprises, either they will be merged together or they will be brought together in such a way that they are only 4 or lesser. So there won't be mushrooming public sector enterprises in those notified strategic sectors. So in the notified strategic sectors, definitely public sector undertakings or enterprises will be present, but private sector will also come in. The support which is already extended to the state governments in the recent past in the context of the COVID lockdown, we completely recognize that, like the center, states are also facing a sharp decline in their revenues. Despite all this, we have consistently extended the support which is needed to be extended to the states, particularly because they are at the front end of fighting the COVID pandemic. Taxation devolution, if everything had been normal, as per the budget estimates, what had to be devolved to the states, we have devolved. 46,038 crores was devolved in April, which is based on the calculation provided in the budget, based on the BE, and that devolution happened as though everything is normal, as was presented in the budget. But of course, after budget, things did change because of the pandemic. But 46,038 crores has been devolved based on the budgetary estimates. Next, revenue deficit grants to the states, 12,390 crores, was given on time. We have not, because our revenues or there are difficulties, we have not held back. And it's our duty. We have given it. Revenue deficit grants to the states of 12,390 crores was given on time in April and May, despite centers' stressed resources. What normally gets devolved over a couple of months, the SDRF, State Disaster Relief Fund, in advance was released, keeping in mind that there is a pandemic which the states are fighting, and this release happened even in the first week of April, which is the beginning of the financial year. 11,092 crores was released, which is the SDRF fund, which normally would have got released as and when there is a situation. Health Ministry has separately from its side released 4,113 crores. so that anti-COVID activities can be funded. So that's also happened. And on centre's request, and I say this way because together with the secretaries, we had a video conference with the RBI, and during that we had requested the RBI, and I'm grateful that the governor and his team of officers had very readily agreed the ways and means advance limits to states has increased by 60%. RBI also increased the number of days states can be in continuous overdraft position from 14 days, which is normal, to 21 days.
In the wake of ongoing COVID-19 crisis, central and state governments are working round the clock to provide all the essential services to the people uninterruptedly during the lockdown period. Doctors, nurses, scientists, police staffs and other officials are working tirelessly to safeguard the nation from this outbreak. Now, we bring different stories from across the country on COVID-19. Indian Council of Medical Research ICMR has said that a total 93,365 samples of coronavirus were tested in the last 24 hours. The total number of tests reached 22,27,642 in the country. Meanwhile, ICMR is continuously scaling up its testing facilities for COVID-19 by giving approval to government and private laboratories. Union Health Ministry has issued detailed guidelines for preparedness and response to COVID-19 in urban areas. The document contains surveillance, containment and clinical management measures, among others, for densely populated urban settlements. As per the guidelines, the surveillance system for COVID-19 in urban areas should be strengthened and strict perimeter control be maintained in containment zones, with Section 144 enforced to ensure people remain in their dwelling units. It was said that in most of the cities or towns, the disease surveillance system is not as well organized as in the rural areas. The guideline says, therefore, the surveillance system will be strengthened for surveillance and contact tracing mechanism. As part of Samudra Setu program under Vande Bharat mission, the naval ship INS Jalashwa arrived at Cochin port today at 12 p.m. carrying 588 persons evacuated from Maldives.
The group of expatriates from Maldives included 497 males, 70 females, including 6 pregnant women and 21 children. Passengers showing COVID symptoms were disembarked first, followed by others in small groups. The medical screening of passengers are being carried out by Port Health Organization. After the screening, people with symptoms will be shifted to Ernakulam Medical College and others will be transferred to quarantine centers. Mayusha from Thiruvananthapuram.
3 flights have been scheduled from the UAE under the Vande Bharat mission today. The second phase of the Vande Bharat mission to bring back stranded Indian nationals began yesterday and will continue till the 22nd of this month. 2 flights are scheduled from Dubai to Kochi and Kannur, while 1 flight is scheduled from Abu Dhabi to Kochi. Priority is being given to distressed blue-collared workers, medical emergency cases, pregnant women, stranded tourists and elderly people to go back on these special flights. All passengers are being screened with the help of the UAE health authorities, and those found asymptomatic will be allowed to board the flight. In the second week of the Vande Bharat mission, 18 flights have been scheduled from the UAE to various destinations in India to take back stranded citizens abroad. The government has said Indian Railways is ready to run Shramik special trains from all the districts connected by the rail network to ensure safer and quicker transportation of migrants. Union Minister of Railways Piyush Goyal has asked the district collectors of the country to prepare a list of stranded labourers and their destination and apply it to Railways through State Nodal Officer. Indian Railways has got the capacity to run almost 300 Shramik special trains a day. The Ministry of Railways in a statement said full capacity operationalization of the railways rakes would provide significant relief to the migrants across the country who are seeking to go to their home states. It said once the information about migrants wishing to go back to their home states is made available from each district, then Railways can further action to help operationalize the trains. It said, so far more than 15 lakh migrants have already been transported by the Railways to their home states and almost 1,150 Shramik special trains have been operationalized. It said Indian Railways can easily transport almost double number of migrants per day. In Himachal Pradesh, in order to fight the pandemic effectively, the Kullu District Administration has set up COVID-19 Safety Shield at the main entrance of the district. More from our correspondent.
To ensure safety of residents, the district administration has established COVID-19 safety shield at the main entrance Bajora to check any symptomatic person. 2 transparent cabins have been built under the protective shell. One is to record the entire family of each person coming from outside the district and going out of the district by the police, and from other cabin, thermal screening of drivers and passengers with safety equipment is being carried out by the health department personnel. People coming from outside are being sent on quarantine only after thermal screening and getting travel history details. Kullu has become the first district in the state to install such armor to combat coronavirus. District administration Kullu has successfully implemented all the directives of the state government practically. As a result, no cases of corona infections have been reported so far in the district. Sanjeev Sundariyal, Shimla.
Uttar Pradesh has become the leading state in providing employment through MGNREGA Manrega scheme in country. Currently, 28.8 lakh people are getting employment under Manrega in state, out of which 4.5 lakh were those migrants who recently returned from other states. A report.
In an exclusive interview, Principal Secretary Rural Development Department Manoj Kumar Singh told AIR that the numbers of migrants adding to the MGNREGA work is growing at a speed of 1 lakh daily, and they are trying to provide work for every migrant. For this, 11.5 lakh projects have been sanctioned in 58,000 gram panchayats of state. Mr. Singh said,
4.5 लाख मजदूर जो बाहर से आए हैं उनको अभी तक नरेगा के काम से जोड़ा जा चुका है. लगभग 28.5 लाख लोग इस पे कल काम कर रहे थे. दूसरी तरफ सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप को हम लोग फेयर प्राइस शॉप पे वो काम करें, उनके जरिए फेयर प्राइस शॉप में पीडीएस का डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन हो, और जो एग्रो प्रोसेसिंग है और मैन्युफैक्चरिंग है छोटे स्तर पे गांव में, उसको सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप के द्वारा उत्कृष्टता के साथ किया जा सके, इस दिशा में प्रयास किया जा रहा है.
State government has started rejuvenation work of 22 rivers in state to provide work under MGNREGA, and payment is being given within 1 week through DBT as migrants are in dire need of cash. Sushil Chandra Tiwari, Lucknow.
Distribution of food grains to migrants under the Atmanirbhar Bharat package has started in several states across the country. The government had announced that around 8 crore migrants who do not have ration card either from the centre or state government will get 5 kilogram per person of wheat or rice and 1 kilogram of chana per family free of cost for the next 2 months. The announcement was made on Thursday while announcing the second tranche of relief measures. A report.
Delivery of food grains under Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan scheme has already started by Food Corporation of India. 1109 metric ton rice was issued from Tamil Nadu and 151 metric ton from Kerala to the state governments for further distribution to the eligible migrant labour. Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution has said that every arrangement has been made to deliver food grains under this scheme across the country. Sufficient stocks have been positioned in every state and union territory for meeting the requirements in any part of the country. The relief measure, costing 3,500 crore rupees with allocation of around 8 lakh metric tons of food grains, will be totally funded by the central government. Anand Chaturvedi, Delhi.
Gujarat government has launched free food grains distribution to the 68.80 lakh families till today. Around 3.36 crore people will be covered under the scheme. AIR Ahmedabad correspondent reports that these families will also get an additional of 3.5 kilograms wheat and 1.5 kilograms rice per person and 1 kilograms pulses per family under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan package. Meanwhile, the selling of grocery and vegetables started again in Ahmedabad. A report.
In a major relief to the people of Ahmedabad, the supply of groceries and vegetables resumed after remaining suspended for 8 days. After closing all stores except milk and medicines, civic authorities have screened vegetable vendors and staff of groceries and have issued licenses to resume operations. About 32,000 such grocery and vegetable vendors have been given licenses to operate in and around Ahmedabad. Yogesh Pandya, Ahmedabad.
In Jharkhand, 52.07% of the affected patients have recovered from COVID-19 infection and have been discharged. Showing a positive sign in the recovery rate of patients, 4 districts, Bokaro, Simdega, Dumka and Deoghar have declared themselves as corona-free districts. Doubling rate of cases in Jharkhand stands at 14.7 days, higher than the national average of 13.3 days. Rajendra Sahu from Chhatarpur district of Madhya Pradesh has received payments under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. He has thanked the government for benefits under various schemes.
नाम राजेंद्र साहू, ग्राम ब्रजपुरा, जिला छतरपुर, मध्य प्रदेश। पहली किस्त 2000 की आ चुकी है, दूसरी भी आ चुकी है। ऐसी परिस्थिति में जो पैसा मिला है वो आर्थिक स्थिति में काम आया है, इसलिए मैं सरकार का धन्यवाद करता हूँ।
This is the success saga of Mysuru district in Karnataka that waged a successful war against COVID-19 pandemic. It is a journey from March 21 to May 14 when the district moved from red to orange zone. It is an interesting story of how the district moved from 90 cases to 0 cases today. Mysuru experiment in containing the pandemic has given a ray of hope to others. More from our correspondent.
Jubilant Industry Nanjangoodu reported 74 cases and others due to those who had returned from outside state and abroad had turned Mysuru into a corona hotspot with 41 containment zones. But the tireless efforts by district administration, frontline warriors and people of Mysuru district have defeated coronavirus. Narrating the success story of bringing down corona positive cases from 90 to 0 cases now, the Mysuru district health officer Dr. Venkatesh says,
our success was due to the containment and the buffer zones. In this containment zone, we actually traced the positive cases, primary contacts and secondary contacts. We did the testing for them. We have completed our survey 2 times.
Sudhindra, Bengaluru.
In Mizoram, churches will allow their premises to be used as quarantine facilities during the COVID-19 pandemic. Chief Secretary Lal Nunmavia Changu said this while holding a state-level task force group meeting in Aizawl. The state is presently COVID-free. The state government is expecting that another 10,000 people will return by middle of June. On Friday, 888 people of Mizoram stranded in other states reached the state by travelling a Shramik special train from Chennai. A report.
Chief Secretary said a large number of homecoming people need huge quarantine facilities. The state government has requested the church body to provide shelter for the purpose. Officials said following the request of the government, the church bodies agreed with the providing shelter to the stranded people reaching the state. They said that 51 church premises having big halls have agreed to spare, and they will also provide meals to the sheltered people at their premises. Irene Aizawl.
National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research NIPER, Guwahati has come out with 2 products of help in the fight against the pandemic outbreak of COVID-19. The first product is a 3D printed hands-free object that could be used to help open or close doors, windows, drawers and refrigerator handle among others. The researchers came up with the design for the fabrication of the 3D printed object after detailed analysis of several resources for risk measurement and on how viruses spread through bare hands. The face shield is also easy to design and it is possible to have rapid development of prototypes. The second product is a 3D printed antimicrobial face shield to control the spread of novel coronavirus. It was designed after a thorough study to understand how viruses spread through oral, ophthalmic, olfactory and other body cavities. India has provided 30,000 Pathodetect COVID-19 qualitative RT-PCR test kits to Nepal. Ambassador of India to Nepal, Vinay Mohan Quatra, handed over test kits to Nepal's Health and Population Minister Banu Bhakta Dhakal in Kathmandu today. The consignment, as a gift from the people of India to people of Nepal, will enable Nepali health professionals to conduct PCR tests on 30,000 people.
You were listening to a press conference by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, followed by positive stories on COVID-19. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our website, newsonair.com. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.